Happy Memorial Day, folks. Man, it's really busy at my work, but it's over. And I really need this. Oof. Okay, let's just, I'm going to say hi to Dustus, Video Massacre, Stan Bowman, good buddy Gary in Pennsylvania, Keith in Pennsylvania, all the monsters, encrypted beasts in Pennsylvania. And everyone who's a fan of Richard Laymon. I don't know why. Well, I mean, I know why, but I don't know why. I'm just obsessed with Laymon's books. He's like the only, like, I guess, for lack of a better word, celebrity that, like, I think about his death and I'm like, God damn it, man. Why? I remember when I got back into him, it was right before he died, like 2000. Maybe like it was after he actually, I think he had just died when I read Among the Missing. So anyway, I'm gonna kind of ramble, go over the place. I need to get into the book. Let me read you the back. Pretty young Pamela was a very happy newlywed with a loving husband and a beautiful home. But all that changed the night Rodney broke in. He's been obsessed with Pamela since high school, and now he intends to make her his slave for life. He thinks he'll be alone when he drives her out to the blazing desert, but someone else is out there too, someone with a gun. Pamela hoped her nightmare was over when Rodney was shot, but something about her rescuer isn't quite right. Ugh. Maybe it's the way he dropped Rodney's body in the pit, like he'd done it before. Maybe it's the bus he's driving with only mannequins for passengers. One thing is certain, she won't be prepared for what she'll find when he drives her to a tiny, isolated town baking in the desert sun. A town with very odd customs and a unique way of welcoming strangers. So that sounds pretty good. Like, I was all... So, and it's called Into the Fire, so like out of the frying pan into the fire, I guess. It's also known as the Glory Bus. And that sounds like a great idea. Like, you know, thinking Hills Have Eyes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's going to be lots of gore and monsters maybe, or desert cannibals. But what this blurb doesn't tell you is that there's a whole nother story with 3 other characters that has nothing to do with Pamela. But that part, the first part with when Rodney, like, it starts out, he's already driving through the desert, or down into the desert. He already has her like handcuffed in his car. He dressed her in like a cheerleading outfit, and he's already killed. Like, her husband's already dead, and Rodney's just he's like a big fatso, and we're just real dirty and like slovenly. And that part is so good. Like, I was like, dude, where's... Like, all this happens in the first... Let me see if I can find it real quick. Like, the first 30 pages. Like, that's Rodney and her, like, their battle, adventure, like... And then she gets picked up by the guy that it said, like, he shoots Rodney, and then he takes his body into the bus, and he takes Pamela, and like, you think, okay, I was is this guy another killer? Is he? But I was like, is it too obvious that he's gonna be a killer? Is he gonna help her? And I was like, I don't know. And then it goes into the whole other story with this teenager named Norman. And he's at a gas station. he goes back in because he saw some beef jerky. He was like a beef jerky fan, and he buys it. But when he goes back to his car, there's a dude sitting in the passenger seat, and this guy's like, "Hey man, can you give me a ride?" And like Rodney's like, "Can you just get out?" I mean Rodney, Norman. He's like, "Dude, can you just get out of my car?" And like the guy just won't budge. He's like a biker looking. Like he describe him like he dresses like a biker, like a leather jacket, blue jeans, biker boots, but he's kind of looks like Elvis. His name's Duke, and Duke just like coerces Norman into giving him a ride, and like he's like finally he relents. He's kind of a wimp, and Duke is like he's not huge, but he's like bigger than Norman, and just like a one tough customer. So like I'm like, where is this going? Actually, I know Laymon does this a lot in his books. He has two stories simultaneously, like weaving them together to where they finally meet. So as I know, whatever is going to happen with Duke and Norman, eventually they're going to meet up with Pamela and the guy who picked her up in the desert somehow. So they're Norman's driving, and then they see a girl hitchhiking, and Duke's like, "Man, pick her up. She looks wild," and boy, is she wild. And just gotta hand it to Laymon. He has a lot of female characters that are just super sexy, gorgeous. He really describes like breasts and rumps. He uses rump a lot. Not in this one though. Actually, he uses fanny and maybe like I don't know. He uses fanny a lot. But this character, her name is Boots, and they describe her as like kind of wide shoulders, chubby, not that cute. She has like pixie bleach blonde hair, like I guess kind of thick thighs, and she wears a pair of white cowgirl boots. And like Duke is all like, he's all, "Man, you gotta pick her up, man." Like he's saying like she'll put out. Norman is a virgin, but he doesn't like Boots right away. But he does it because Duke again coerces him into doing it. And like they go to the beach, and he's just like Norman's just kind of grossed. He doesn't even know Duke. He's weirded out by him, and he's like grossed out by Boots. And like he's okay. We'll go to the beach. We'll have a picnic. And then he's like thinking, I'll ditch him there. Like this guy Duke, he wants to hook up with Boots, so they can have each other. I'll just take off. He's not comfortable at all with them. And so they go buy stuff to eat at the beach and like blank towels and stuff. And Boots puts on her bikini, and it's like a yarn. It's like a crochet. Like she made it herself, and like her nipples are sticking through the top, and like you could see her genitals. Like it's funny. He describes it like it's like she's smashing her genitals into a fence. It's like all pressed, and like he's actually getting kind of turned on though. And pretty soon he goes to ditch them, and he just can't. And then so we just go back and forth from Norman, Duke, and Boots, and then Pamela in the desert. And it's not as ominous as it turns out. It turns out the guy that picks her up in the bus, his name is Sharp. He's a little odd, but he's really nice to Pamela. He takes her to this little town they have in the desert called Pitt. Is it Pitt or Pitts? I think it's Pitts. And they keep driving home. Pitt's population 6. So it's Sharp is his name, the bus driver. This girl Lauren that likes him. Nikki. I think Travis and West. Who is that? And the mayor. And the mayor Hank. And they just have this little community out in the desert. They have a diner that they run, and people actually stop and eat, and that's how they make money. And they just welcome Pamela in with open arms. And and this whole time I'm thinking, okay, her husband was killed. Rodney had set her house on fire. She has to get back. I mean, she has to report the murder. She just can't leave her life. But she does, because they show her like a newspaper where it turns out that her husband had another wife, and Rodney had left a body in the house when he set it on fire. So they think everyone thinks Pamela's dead. So slowly she's getting used, like warming up to the idea of living in pits. And they're really nice to her, and they give her a trailer like of her own, and it's cool, has air conditioning or fans or whatever, so she can like be by herself and like decompress from what's happened to her life. And it's all really good. Like, it's not like the murder, death, kill, rape, torture of a usual Laymon novel. Like, she went through the worst already, so now she's like healing. But yeah, we jump back between Pamela's story and then Norman, Duke, and Boots, and then what happens to Norman and what Duke and Boots do is just crazy. I'll just cut to the chase and say that Boots and Duke commit a murder in front of Norman, and to where he feels like he has no choice but to help them. And then they're on they make it clear that Boots and Duke have killed before, and Norman, he's just a 16-year-old kid. He was a virgin. Oh, and they had a three-way, and that's the first time he had sex. And it's really graphic and nasty, but it's funny because Norman talks in his head. He thinks about how he calls Boots like a pig woman. She's just gross and disgusting, and like, what kind of guy would want to be with her? No, he's the kind of guy, because he just like can't get enough of her. And I mean, once you get some from a girl, that's just all you kind of want. I mean, that's happened to me. I don't know if it's happened to you, but I kind of understand that part with Norman. But once they start killing, and he's an accomplice to murder, and then Norman runs over a cop, or he runs into him and kills him because he's like so afraid that he's gonna go to prison for what he did. He runs over a cop because he thinks they already set up like a roadblock to stop them, but it wasn't. Like, a potato truck spilled, and the cops were just like directing traffic, and Norman killed one. And I'm like, well, there's no coming back from that, Norman. You ran over a cop. I mean, they're gonna hunt you till the end of time. And then so it just turns to where our happy trio are just on the run, and they're just killing more people and they're both having sex with Boots. He still thinks she's a disgusting slob pig. There's a lot of that in the book, where Norman's thinking of how gross Boots is, but then he's always looking at her tits jiggling, or her fat ass, and he just can't help himself. So finally, there's so much happens. Like, I wanted to write certain things down. Laymon just has this easy way of writing that just gets to the point, and some of it's really funny. The phrases he uses, the words he uses, just his whole approach. And what I like about Laymon, he doesn't mess around with like Stephen King and Dean R. Koontz do it, where like, if there's a crime committed, there's the police, there's like ambulance or paramedics and detectives and stuff. In Laymon's world, they just kill with almost with no, there's going to be no consequences. it's like in this wild world that he sets his books in. It's almost like a fantasy world. I mean, it is a fantasy world, but it's just like a different world that Layman sets his books in. Where, like, if you have the guts to kill, then you just do it and you get away with it, and that's pretty chilling, I think. So I don't want to explain every detail of this book. Plus, I forgot most of like what I wanted to talk about, the parts that I really liked or that just really stuck out. But finally, like the killer trio ends up in pits, and they want to take over, and there's a showdown between the 7 with Pamela inhabitants against Norman, Duke, and Boots. I was gonna call her Pitts, and I love a good villain, but I hated them so much. I was like, Norman. Oh man, I don't know if Layman is trying to say that, like, because Norman's just a nice kid, but they turn him evil, and he becomes totally corrupted to where he wants to rape and murder, and well, no, he just wants to rape mostly. And then you get into his brain, and like he's just thinking, man, because Duke's like, we could take over, and then you can have this girl, I'll take this girl, and then we can share Boots on, like, he's like, I'll have Boots during the week, you have her on the weekend, and Norman's like, yeah, like, Duke's like, you can have the one girl, Nikki, and Norman's like, yeah, I'll take Nikki. Like, he just, and then when he sees Pamela, he's like, well, I want Pamela too. Like, I can't wait to like, get a piece of her. And he's just like a maniac. It's pretty disgusting. Like, and he never really says it, but he's like, he'll do anything. He'll beat them up or hurt them. I mean, he'll rape them to have sex with them, and he just thinks it's like it's his right. And then there is a whole cannibalism angle to this, and again, the way Layman does it, it's nothing like Chainsaw or Hills Have Eyes or The Offspring from Jack Ketchum or like the Italian jungle cannibal movies. The way Layman explains it, you're like, I can kind of get behind the way they do it. But yeah, this is not the Jesus. I don't even think this would be in my top 10 favorite Layman books, but like maybe number 11, because I mean he's got so many good books, and this is very different. He has a lot of camping horror. He's got a lot of like serial killer stuff, and this was published after he died, so I don't know. I wish I could find out, like, did he finish this? Was this like in a drawer somewhere? Did someone have to finish it? Because it was printed a while after he died. So I wish I could get more info on just like how his books got published after he died. I read that there was like 3 or 4 books, I think 3 or 4, I can't remember, that were published after his demise. And this is one of them, but it's really good. I'm not going to give it 5. I'll give it a 4 because he has other books that I think are better than this. Just because, I don't know, this is just all over the place. I wouldn't even really call this horror. I would almost call like an adventure, fantasy. But I really enjoyed this. Made me realize why I love Layman so much, why his books are so unique, so different, so good. Oh, and there wasn't as much gore in this, because when they kill someone, they just say, oh, like Duke will kill someone, there's like he shoved a knife in their back, and there's no graphic descriptions, but towards the end there is some, like, for like you gore hounds, like, to sink your teeth into, and just some weird stuff. Like, I don't want to ruin it because I want you to find out about Layman, read his books, and find out how good he is. I want someone to make a movie, but maybe not now. Maybe I just want the books to be the books. And yeah, man, I could go on and on. Like all the people who say they're trying to emulate Layman, but just come off as like juvenile and weak and stupid. But a movie, maybe one movie. But I doubt they'll ever make a Layman book into a movie. But they could make some. Off the top of my head, Into the Dark or Night in a Lonesome October would be so easy to make. But Into the Fire, man, if you can get this, or man, any Layman book really, I urge you to check them out. So yeah, I really, really enjoy this, and it always makes me feel like kind of just disillusioned because I'm gonna pick up another book and it's not gonna be it's gonna be half as good as this. But so I didn't want to jump into another book. I wanted to read something good. I started a Suicide Squad. And right now I'm reading The Infinity Gauntlet, and this is so good. As good as Layman is as writing like killers and sex maniacs and cannibals, Jim Starlin is great at writing like cosmic villains and heroes and superheroes and good guys. But yeah, I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to review it because I was thinking about it so much. I don't know what to talk about. But that's it. Let me know what you think. I hope you read Layman. That's all I can say.